Yes, everyone. This is your soul brother, Talib, who you best know from Operation Exodus Mississippi slash Reality Temple on Earth platform. Today, in this topic discussion, I want to talk about, you know, the frustration among indigenous black Americans, even like myself, why we're tired of not being at peace here in America. And of course, this is what this video is going to be titled under, although in different written contexts. But this is what this video is going to be titled under because I don't know exactly how I'm going to write out the title, but this is what this video is going to be titled under. But however, I just want to say that I just purchased this book yesterday uh, by this brother named Charles M. Blow, who's been in the national spotlight and has been given, you know, platforms, by, of course, by the Caucasian media establishment, to speak on as far as his book that he just put out, and hold on for a second. Okay, I'm right back at you, family. Well, anyway, this book I purchased yesterday, as you can see, called "The Devil You Know," a Black Power uh manifesto. It's called "The Devil You Know," a Black Power manifesto, as you can see by Charles M. Blow. And this book is a top number 4 seller, and of course he is a writer for the New York Times. And in this book, he speaks exactly similarly the language that we speak from here at the Mississippi Campaign platform. He speaks exactly the same language we speak from the Mississippi Campaign platform in terms of, indigenous black Americans securing a safe haven and sanctuary place for ourselves, which is something we don't have in this country as a people, to protect us against the racism, against the gerrymandering, against mass incarceration, against police brutality, against, other sorts of things as well that comes along with racism here in this country, like lynchings, even if it's legal lynchings in the racist criminal justice system of this country, and also too, you know, and housing discrimination, job discrimination, And like I said before, other things, including corruption, that surrounds the issue of racism in this country. We have nowhere to escape to that can protect us from that. So, as I move along, you know, he talks about that and he talks about the ideal, even though we just want to start off with taking control of at least one state, which is Mississippi, which would be an experiment. And then once we see that could work, then we could work on taking control of the rest of the South, like what he's talking about. But we got to start in one place first, you know, to make sure that this ideal is effective and that it could work. But however, he similarly speaks along, like I say, the same lines that in the same in along the same talking points that we speak from the Operation Exodus Mississippi platform, is the fact that we need a part of this country where we can control the politics at, you know. And although his different angle of it is taking control of the whole South, which, like I said, what we need to do, which would be the more appropriate thing to do, is to start with Mississippi, you know. And as I explained before, to use that as an experiment so that we can, in fact, see if it works, then we can move on to controlling other states like Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and so forth on, you know. You know, and of course, according to statistics like he's written in this book that I just showed you, there is still a majority of us as an indigenous black Americans located in the South than in any other region part of this country, including the North, the Midwest, the East and West Coast, of course, and you know, which are places where indigenous black Americans are being ostracized in heavily, you know, through redistricting, through you know, gentrification, you know, and all that other stuff, you know, and we you know what I'm saying, actually need a home base for ourselves. And if they could give the immigrants sanctuary cities to protect them from the federal government, then we deserve even more of a right to have a sanctuary state where we, our women and children, can go to be protected from the racial onslaughts that we experience every day in this country as indigenous black Americans. And with that said, I just want, and also before I, you know, um, continue on, I say that every indigenous black American, or those many among the 44 plus million of indigenous black Americans in this country, should buy this brother's book. Wherever you at in America, you should purchase this brother's book. And, you know, because he has a lot of vital, important information in there that connect along the lines of why even our platform of Operation Exodus Mississippi is very necessary, you know, in terms of its ideals and the essentialness in its ideals. concerning Operation Exodus Mississippi. And, you know, but however, I must say again too that, you know, moving along, I just want to say that, personally and generally, as we spoke about in another video a couple of days ago, over this past weekend, we had a panel with us and our number one brother Angels, our number one soul brother Angel Snup Snup Seven, and another co-host who speaks also from time to time on our platform, Dr. Omar Shamsuddin, talked about, you know, why Motown legend Stevie Wonder has chosen to move over to Ghana. Well, I want to say, because as I was reading this book that I just showed you, some things was going through my mind, and I had to put the book down. And as I reflect, on this situation, that I feel Stevie Wonder's pain, like I said before, and our other live panel discussion over this weekend concerning that as a topic for Stevie Wonder making the decision to go to Ghana. And I feel his pain because I was there. And I've even made other videos about it that's on this very channel that I'm speaking from, called Eric Bell. And you can, come on this same channel and go watch them other videos, which I personally talked about in the past, as far as, entertaining the ideal of moving out of America someday, because at this point, we have no protections here. But then again, as the top number one question arises, where are we going to go? And like I said, I understand Stevie Wonder's position on that. I do. And I don't know how many more times I could say that. But however, when you're leaving from one frying pan, just to be flipped over into a frying skillet pan, it's just not logical. Because going from one slave master to another, whether we leaving the Caucasian slave master just to be up under a black slave master or African slave master, it don't really make no difference. Because Ghana, West Africa, as well as all them other countries over there in Africa, even in Liberia where we have relatives at who are also direct descendants of ex-American Negro slaves, but they are entrenched at this point into an entirely different culture with different sets of, customs that we know nothing about, So, I just wanted to say that, we don't know if even going to Africa would be a protective situation for us. We don't know even how worse it could be than what the situation we find ourselves at as indigenous black Americans right here in the United States, So I just can't see even at this point of leaving this country, and especially as 44 plus million as a whole. And of course, what country is going to accept us, you know, all together as 44 million plus, you know? What other continent is even going to accept us, period, as 44 million plus? See, all that got to be considered. And as someone spoke about, I think, yes, it was brother Dr. Omar when we was talking about this same similar situation on the live podcast over the weekend. You know, he was saying that Africa is not even in a position to accept us anyway, and they will have to fight just to pay a price to be able to accept us. See, because they're having internal cultural issues over there and other issues politically, being that they're still controlled by their former European colonizers politically as well as economically, you know? So I have to say that, you know, that choice, especially with going to Africa, is definitely, you know, not an option, as writings on the wall clearly proves that, you know, you know, I must say that, you know, Stevie Wonder by right can go to Ghana, just like any of us can go anywhere we want to go. However, and plus of the fact that he does have money, unlike many of us, who doesn't fall up under his type of financial status. But he has money, so he could do that. But even if he does go to Ghana, we could still, you know, try to reach out to the brother and talk to him, where we could get him to embrace our ideal as far as Operation Exodus Mississippi and taking control of a state, which will be a model experiment, you know, that could stretch, like I said, even across throughout the rest of the South, like Brother Charles M. Blow basically talks about in his book, you know. But you know, I must say that at the same time, I understand Stevie Wonder's situation, you know, and because there is no peace, and that's what I really want to speak about, and in the relations of me reading Charles, you know, M. Blow's book, of course, you know, and there's no peace, you know, and just like he said in his book, basically that racism is evenly distributed throughout the entire country of America, the United States of America. I am speaking of, and no matter what region we find ourselves in, whether it's here in the Midwest where I'm located at, whether it's out west on the West Coast or back east on the East Coast, you know, we or in the North, you know, no matter where we go, you know what I'm saying? Racism, you know, is prevalent everywhere, and it is the number one stumbling block that is been put systematically in place to make sure that we as indigenous black Americans remain in the position that we're in, unfortunately, and on all levels when we're talking about dealing with racism in this country and with the social ills that comes along with racism in this country, and I have to say that when I think about my experiences of traveling around this country, especially since I've been an adult, and the experiences I've had personally in my own life as an indigenous black American traveling and moving around to different states in this country, I have to totally agree on that note with soul brother Charles M. Blow, that racism is evenly distributed throughout this entire country. And you know, no matter if it's just straight up racism, covert racism, or however, each region, exhibits its racism toward so called people of color in this country, you know, far as he put it, basically style wise, you know, concerning like the northern style version of racism to the south's historic known outright racism, you know, it's no difference. Racism is racism, and one thing he even spoke on, as I've come across so far in his book, that you find indigenous black Americans who are in other parts of the country that's scared to go to the south. And I just recently actually had one who told me locally here where I'm at in the Midwest that she is scared of the South, you know, and I mean, but the thing about it is that I say what some of us are scared of in the South is the same thing that's happening right where we're at. Whether it's under our nose, whether it's covert, where it don't appear to come off as being racial situations that we encounter, you know, but it's here, and we have to understand and realize that you know, we are in a hellified situation. And what's worse about it, you know, uh you know, like what Malcolm X said, even that the only difference about the southern Caucasian and the northern Caucasian is that the southern Caucasian lets you know where they really stand at when it comes to their brand of racism. And the northern Caucasian is more subtle and covert with his northern racism. Like he said, when it comes to the northern Caucasian races, they will smile in your face, and when you turn your back, they'll stab you in the back. Whereas the southern races will just tell you straight to your face exactly how it is and what they think and feel about you, and would demonstrate it directly in front of your face through action, you see. And you know, so, and this also goes to pointing out, like he said that when he said the South, when you want to talk about the South, anywhere under the Canadian border is the South in that sense of right, which Malcolm X basically also spoke about during his time here on Earth, and I have to say that that is definitely a true fact. And even brother Charles M. Blow had that quoted statement that I was able to run across in his book that I just showed you. So that's true. That's very true. That is very true. And moving on to what I really wanted to speak on in regards to that, there is no peace. There definitely is no peace for black Americans in this country. You know, it's why we have so many health problems, whether it's diabetes, heart, bad heart problems, respiratory problems, you know, other different sicknesses like cancer, you know, uh, and other different physical illnesses. It comes from the depression um, and anxiety due to the impact of racism on us as 44 plus million in this country. And it's also why we suffer from mental psychological issues as well, and also, like I said, physical ailments. That's unfortunate in our case, and emotional uh, illnesses, you know, that constantly has destroyed us as a people. So I have to say that with all that said in one whole package, you know, we are in a very, very discomfort situation. That's, and then when we got to deal with issues like even what I personally deal with and what others in my same u- unique situation deal with when we're living in certain parts of the country where we're only 1% or even less than 1%, where we have to deal with racism on a more constant 24-hour basis than as to say in places like Detroit, Philadelphia, Chicago, Buffalo, New York, Baltimore, you know what I'm saying? Atlanta, Memphis, you know, Houston, Texas, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And where is more of us concentrated at. And then, we have to also deal with a lot of other things in terms of what comes along with this situation is that we have to subject our children to this and our newborn and even unborn children to this. And this is why the Mississippi campaign is mainly about preparing a new reality for our future generations among us to come. so that they won't have to go through the same suffering, which they shouldn't have to. And I have to also say that you know, we need to understand too that we cannot keep depending on incompetent leadership to get us to what they call the promised land. We can't keep depending on incompetent ideals, which has not worked to get us to that promised land. And I just wanted to piggyback off of what our number one soul brother Angel Snup Snup Seven said in the book that he was in the video, excuse me, that he was doing yesterday, titled "Answering Questions uh, about Operation Exodus Mississippi," and you could go on his channel Reality Temple on Earth and check that video out. He did it yesterday, and he was on a live podcast yesterday doing that video. But anyway, and he spoke about a couple of things I wanted to point out that, like he's like basically what he said, and I'm gonna say basically that you got the Nation of Islam, even whether it is under Louis Farrakhan, Salih Muhammad, Eric Muhammad, Minister Basir Muhammad, you know, and the list goes on. That you know what I'm saying, have done nothing to benefit the 44 plus million of indigenous black Americans other than what's benefited them personally and what's benefited their personal families. But it has not benefited the whole, as one would say, you know? And so we still remain in the situation that we're in, even as a result of that, you know? And, and, um, and of course, other different leadership, like, in the case of Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, what they're doing has not benefited us massively either as a whole, you know? And so, I mean, we have to look at this on a broader level to see that these ideals are not working. So, this is why it's necessary for us to try the ideal of Operation Exodus Mississippi, which is something that was tried by our ancestors, but because they were up under so much pressure, you know, and while they had to deal with the terror of races in the Jim Crow South, which led to their exodus to the North, like the brother Charles M. Blow talks about in his book, you know, I have to say that we are in a better position now than they were, you know, to make this idea work. And it can work if we collectively come together and, of course, push our petty differences to the side. We can make this work. But, of course, you got people, who want to also stand in the way of trying to destroy this ideal even before it gets off the ground. Like idiotic, jackass folks in the comment section that was talking crazy during the live podcast that our brother Angel Snup Snup 7 did yesterday, dealing with answers and questions about Operation Exodus Mississippi. And I have to also say that you know we And just like it in all cases of any type of kind of indigenous black American progress in this country, we have those among us internally that want to just block real progress from getting us to the true freedom that we never knew in this country as a people, And so this is the thing which we came together as like-minded ones, Bars, me and brother Talik, once again, who's also known as Angel Snup Snup 7, that it, it'd just have to take a few of us to make this ideal come into reality where the rest of the 44 plus million will look and see that this works, and then eventually they'll wake up out of their autism ways of thinking to come along and join in to help build in this new reality so that our future generations will be totally free from what we know as the plight of black America, which it has been for over 400 years, which is called slavery, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, you know, gerrymandering, police brutality, racial profiling, you know, and all the rest added to the equation of this situation, you know. And I must say that, it don't have to take a whole bunch of us to make this happen, you know. And also, too, I wanted to point out that actually, going back to what I wanted to say about the uncomfortability in the peace we can't find because of the situation we're in, which is why people like Stevie Wonder want to relocate to Ghana along with his grandchildren so that his grandchildren won't have to suffer, at the hands of racism here in America. From what I understand, from his standpoint on this situation, I have to say that I've been through enough myself, even in life, up to this point in my early 50s, to understand that no matter where I go as an indigenous black American in this country, I'ma still be treated as the N word systematically as well as even socially, and that's hell. Like this, group from back in the 80s called Mobb Deep would say, hell on earth, you know, and that is hell on earth, and ones ain't got to die to go find out about what hell is because as indigenous black Americans, we're living it right here on earth, right here in this country. And I have to say that, you know, what I don't find in terms of peace is when I can't even walk out on the streets when I'm out and about. I can't even walk down the street or be out on the streets walking around without being racially profiled, without being possibly stopped over even over some petty small minor uh, criminal infraction or being accused of some petty small criminal infraction with racial profiling coming along with that, of course. And I can't, you know what I'm saying, walk the streets without even other races who are not connected to law enforcement, racial profiling me, you know, just as in the case of all other indigenous black Americans, whether we want to accept that fact or not, you know. But I have to say that that's not peace. That's not living in peace. You know, when you have to worry about a racist Caucasian with a police badge and gun blowing your head off because you the N word, you know, that's not peace. With you possibly being framed or accused of a crime that you didn't commit and ending up going to prison, especially for the rest of your life over, that's not living in a peaceful state at all. So, yes, I can understand where Stevie Wonder is coming from on that note. You know, I can understand his pain on that note. You know, I share those same feelings and thoughts in that manner as he does, you know, because of what we're dealing with. And then thinking about the fact that no matter where we go in America and end up being incarcerated, whether because we committed a crime or not, and I'm going to repeat this again, whether because we committed a crime or not, that we have to be subjugated to the abuses of being stuck off in these white man's prisons and jail institutions where we have to be subjugated to the abuse while we're in the custody of these type of institutions. You see what I'm saying? And of course, I experienced it doing time in the North and in the South. You know, so it's no different. And of course, racism came along with that. So it's no difference, you know? And so, and one whole eggshell, you know, like I said before, you know, I understand wrapped up in one whole body package, I could understand Stevie Wonder's pain, you know, considering that, you know, and considering not only what I went through individually, but what other countless of other indigenous black Americans in the millions around this country have went through dealing with the issues of the so-called criminal justice system the, and the penal system when it comes to mass incarceration and all that kind of stuff, you know, and the corruption also that comes along with that, which adds more on to the suffering dealing with racism, you know. So I just have to say that we need a place, you know, where we can be sanctuarily protected from that, you know, and I mean, I can you know I cannot really say no more than that, you know, in dealing with that situation, you know, because we've tried everything else. We tried religion, and that divisively has kept us from uniting and coming together to change our entire reality as a people. We've tried the civil rights movement. We've tried the pro-black conscious strategy, which hasn't worked either. You know, with the exception of the Black Panthers, who fell short of the gold mark to get us to the protected freedom that we need from this. But however, like I said, basically, you know, we have to also understand that we have to get to where we need to go. And I just want to also speak on something as well too, concerning this when it comes to those other indigenous black Americans, which are those that are terminally among us is 44 million, who try to block any progress that we make toward getting to our true liberation as a people in this country by saying things like one idiot named Alquan said to our brother Talik during his live podcast yesterday in the context of where if you want to be free, if you want that type of freedom, then why don't you go on and all this stuff, making them idiotic type of comments, just trying to find ways to make what brother Talik say look crazy or whatever, when he is the one who thinks he's so smart, like brother Talik said, but in actuality is artistically crazy. Okay, and you know, I have to say also too that we need to really just ignore them type of idiots who try to disrupt our progress toward true liberation, unlike of what we ever knew as 44 plus million in this country. We have to actually block them out our minds, block them out our ears, and don't even give them no attention because of simply the fact that they're trying to block progress, you know. And until that happens, and also until we get to the point, of putting in the work to get us toward true liberation from racism in this country and being able to do it within the confines of America while we're still here in America, you know, I won't even feel at peace long as I'm living and breathing. Long as I'm breathing and alive, I won't feel at peace. And I know those of you, the so-called American Negro with tunnel vision, or those of you who think you know everything and is right, would say, well, I'm just a miserable individual, or that I think is a miserable individual. Well, I tell you what, if you really open up your eyes to understand what people like me and Talik are saying, what people like Dr. Omar Shamsuddin is saying, what people who also like on our platform, Sister Nova Levine is saying, you will understand that you will become that of which you say someone like me is. Not in the actuality of being miserable, but the fact that this is a miserable existence. So yeah, you could call it miserable. Because yes, this is a miserable existence that we're living in as a people. So yeah, you can call it that. Matter of fact, yes, you can call it that. But it's also not because it started from our choice, you know what I'm saying, of being born into this situation, because we didn't ask to be born in this situation either. So to say that we're literally miserable is one thing, but yes, this is a miserable state that we're living in, and it's not a peaceful state at all. Okay, so you know, I just wanted to point that out. You know, for those of you that say, "Oh, these Negroes, were they miserable because probably they ain't got nothing anyway, and they this and this and that." Well, if that's the case, then look at Stevie Wonder. He's a millionaire, and he wants to get out of America because of the state that we find ourselves in as 44 plus million indigenous black Americans who are dark skinned descendants of slaves born here in America. So, yes, if you want to call that miserable because somebody ain't got nothing, look to Stevie Wonder as a prime example. You know, he got millions, you know, a renowned Motown legend entertainer with millions, and he's ready to leave America because of our miserable state of condition here. So yeah, you could call it miserable, or you won't. But yes, it is miserable. And those of us that want to get out of this misery, you don't really have no right to criticize that. And if you want to stay in this misery as a indigenous black American, then that's your choice too, you know. But like those as like minded as myself don't, you know. So with that said, I mean, you know, we need to really understand that we have, you know, a choice to either remain in this misery and mental slave state of condition, this misery condition, and this slave minded state of condition and physical slave condition, or become free. And it's just that simple. Because we're not free, nor are we at peace dealing with this miserable mental and physical state of condition that we find ourselves in, even after over 400 years as a people in this country. So, like I said before, it's your choice. You could remain a slave or become a free people. And that's, you know what I'm saying, that's just the bottom line to that. That really is a bottom line to that. That's just simply a bottom line, you know, and I don't, you know, I don't know and how much more simplistic term I can put to that. But, you know, I have to say that, you know, we're so docile and artistic as a people that maybe we might as well become an exterminated people, you know, because that's how we think like anyway. You know, we might as well become an extinct people, an exterminated people, which is something that we're facing if we don't take control of our own destiny, as Marcus Garvey would once say, to free ourselves from the clutches of racism in this country, where we could be in a protected sanctuary, especially while future generations coming behind us won't have to deal with. And with that said, I'm gonna be out the 5,000.